Gay SA Radio. Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
Livio, and I'm speaking to Cyndi from HART Fertility Clinic in Cape Town. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Thank you, Livio, and thanks for having me.
Right, so we're just going to do some discussions and just more about the company and what, we'll do little sections just to understand for us LGBT people, how is it to become to start a family and so forth. So do me a favor, please just tell us more about the HART Fertility Clinic and when did it start?
Okay, so HART Fertility Clinic is a niche holistic clinic, and we're based in the heart of Cape Town. And HART Fertility was founded in 2014.
Oh, wow. You say that the clinic is holistic. What does that mean? Does it mean candles and incense, or how? Just explain it to me.
Yes, so many people might think that, and we're happy to do that for you if that's what you need. But basically what holistic means is, or in our terms, is that we want to embrace that, or show that we appreciate that everybody is unique, and therefore we tailor make our treatment plans based on the patient's individual needs.
All right,
so we would, if you do need that little bit of incense in the corner, we're happy to do that.
Buddha bar playing also, in the background and so forth.
Yes. And if you need some, acupuncture or chiropractic work, we basically want to use that in combination with traditional modern medicine.
All right, very interesting. Where are you precisely situated?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we're based in Cape Town, and we are in the new Christian Barnard Hospital on the foreshore. So it's quite a nice building, and we're on the 11th floor.
All right, and your operating hours?
The clinic doors are open Monday to Friday from 8 until 5. However, in saying that, the doors are literally open those times, but we strive to communicate continuously with our patients. So with patients, we have a continuous WhatsApp line, and we're on email all the time. So we strive to maintain that continuous communication with our patients. If they need anything, or if anything goes wrong,
So you guys do the extra mile, like we'll say.
Yes, we do strive to do so.
So how do I make an appointment, and what can I expect or prepare for to start coming to meet with you and talk with you?
So we have various means of scheduling an appointment. First means would be we have a online booking system through which you can log on. It's available on our Facebook pages and so forth. You click on the link and it takes you to our booking system, and you can choose which date and time suits you. We will then get an email to say that, for example, Livio has requested a booking on this date and time, and we will be able to confirm it. If something needs to change, or if there's a double booking made, we can then make contact with you to ask you whether we could move it or change it, or provide a different option. And then we have the old school general pick up the phone and make a call to the clinic for a booking. And then the third option would be via our WhatsApp line. If you pop a message on our WhatsApp line, our practice manager will get through to you and ask, what days and times would suit you. And then to answer your second part of the question on how you prepare.
All right.
So that just depends on factors in terms of if we're specifically looking at the LGBT community. If you're a same-sex female couple or a single female, you will be needing an ultrasound.
All right.
So then, just in terms of preparations for psyching yourself up and making yourself aware that that's going to happen. But for, say, for example, a single male, same-sex male couple, no ultrasound will be done. So it will just be a basic consultation with the doctor.
That makes logical sense, I think. Okay, in these consultations, is there a different way that you guys speak to or discuss between LGBT couples and regular heterosexual couples?
Yes. So, like I said, in terms of when making a booking and you fall into the LGBT community, we the bookings in terms of making the booking, that is generally the same. And then in the consultation, various treatment options are discussed. So with a heterosexual couple, it's obviously we're going to be using their egg, their sperm, and we're going to be doing the process, kind of conventionally. But if we have a same-sex female couple, you'd obviously be needing a sperm donor. So that's an additional conversation that will happen. For a same-sex male, we'll be discussing they would be needing an egg donor. And then for the transgender community, we would be discussing fertility preservation. And, the conversations will be surrounding that. So that's basically the only difference in terms of consultations between the two groups.
Right. And I think everybody would love to know this, but does my medical aid cover these kinds of procedures, and what don't they?
Okay, so that is a very good question and a hot topic at the moment, because especially in fertility, unfortunately, the only medical aid, or fortunately, thank goodness one has come aboard, but the only medical aid who currently pays for any fertility procedures is Discovery. And in saying that, it's only the top 2 plans that cover fertility. So it's a big step in the right direction, I think. I think this will put a lot of pressure on the other medical aids. So basically, they would pay for a certain percentage of the treatment. They don't pay for a full treatment. So it all just depends on what kind of treatment you're coming for and what the cost deficit would be that you would be liable for, unfortunately. But yeah.
Unfortunately, hey. Okay, so
yes, and it actually, sorry, Livio, not to interrupt you again, but just it helps immensely when the public puts pressure on the medical aids as like a community front that just funds the pressure on the medical aid to actually come aboard and to pay for certain treatments. That just helps a lot.
I can definitely think so. All right, so seeing that the medical aid does not want to be playing games, or they're trying to, starting at least, but what is the budget we are looking to if I want to start a family?
Okay, so when you come into the clinic for an initial consultation, that consultation varies between 1,300 to 2,000 Rand. So that would be for the initial full consultation, where a full medical history will be taken, explanations about the treatment options available, and then the ultrasound, if applicable, will be done. Then also if we have a single male or a same-sex male couple, then we would advise either both or one of the couple, whoever is more comfortable, to do a sperm test and or a semen analysis, and that test is 950 Rand. So those two costs together would be kind of the initial fee for a fertility patient setup. Then when we look at the various categories or classes within the LGBT community, the costs vary accordingly. So for example, if I have to say a same-sex female couple, we would be able to use one of the patient's eggs, and then together with a sperm donor, so we could potentially do what we call artificial insemination. And that cost is around 12,000 Rand, including the fee for the donor sperm. If we're doing a process on their side as well, which is called reciprocal IVF, when the one female goes through the IVF process in terms of taking stimulation medication and then retrieving her eggs, we fertilize her eggs with donor sperm in our lab, and then we transfer that embryo created into the second partner. So kind of like both partners have a part in the treatment, and that process is more expensive. It's about 55 to 60,000 Rand. And then when we move on to our male couples, they would obviously need, theirs is unfortunately much more expensive, because they would need a surrogate, they would need an egg donor, and those costs could add up to easily to about 150,000 rand, taking into account the legal fees that are applicable and so forth. And then on our transgender patients, we would be discussing, as I mentioned earlier, fertility preservation. And what that basically means is before we advise, or before the patient would like to go through the transition phase, or initiating the transition period, that we, what was I going to say? We preserve their fertility, and before they start hormone treatment. So for males transitioning to female, we would then ask them to do sperm banking, and that so we would store their sperm for later use if they wish to, and that costs us about 6,000 rand just for the actual analysis of the sperm, the freezing of the sperm, and the storage of the sperm. And then the sperm is frozen indefinitely, so it can stay there for years and years until they're ready to use it. And for a female, female going to male, we would then advise them to freeze the eggs, and that process is about 36,000 rand, because she would have to go through the fertility medication and the injections and all of that. So that's a little bit more expensive. But in general, that's ballpark figures what the patients would be looking at.
Yeah, cool. It's very interesting. I mean, if you think that you spend how much on a new car, so, and this is a lifelong commitment, so it's not
true, yeah.
If you think of it that way. All right, so what is the safest age to thinking of maybe I want to start a family?
Okay. So, for a female, obviously we bound it by age, unfortunately, and as you hit that 35-year-old peak, your fertility, unfortunately, takes a nosedive.
Okay.
And especially from the age of 38 towards 40 and beyond, your fertility takes a steeper dive. Okay. So we would say if you are wanting to have fertility treatment and you're wanting to start your family, ideally within the range of 35 years for a female would be good to come in to see the doctor and just to discuss all the options and see where you are in your fertility. Maybe you have a couple of years left, but some people don't. Okay. So it's always just good to know. And then for guys, guys they can procreate until they're very old. So they on the better spectrum in terms of having time on their side.
Oh, okay, great. So that's not so bad. It's bad, but not that bad. All right. Yes. Can you briefly just explain to me my journey as an LGBT member? When I decide that I want to start a family, how do we start? How can you start off with it? Kind of a thing.
Okay. So some of the things I've mentioned before, but basically what we would say is if we think of steps, I would say step one, let's come into the clinic, make an appointment with a doctor, and do all the provisional tests that need to get done. Whether it's a semen analysis or an ultrasound that needs to get done, that's the baseline that needs to get done. Then from there on, the doctor will advise you which is the best treatment option based on what he's found during this consultation and what your history says. Sometimes we would send the couples for blood tests, and that will also give us a better indication on, especially on the female side, for hormones, how things are looking, how much time she has left in her tank. And then once a treatment option has been decided upon, we would then, that's basically when I step into the process, and as the registered nurse at the clinic, I assist with the planning of the treatment. So I would sit down with a couple, explain in brief how the cycle would work, how the treatment would work, and what the various steps are inside those treatment options. And then we would work with dates. Obviously, people are a little bit more flexible in terms of our local patients, working from home and things like that. But if things go back to normal and everybody has a 5-day working week at the office, then people need to take into account whether they want to take leave for a time or whether they're happy to come for their consults in their lunch hour and things like that. So we speak about all the options and all the ways that we can go about getting the cycle done without disrupting their normal life as much as possible. Yeah, and that's, yeah.
All right. So what can we teach our LGBT youth of today that's always dreamed of having, you know, a life partner, starting a family, you know, the white picket fence kind of?
Yes. I think the biggest thing that we could do as, you know, both the LGBT community and the fertility clinics, what needs to happen is creating awareness. The youth need to know that various treatment options are available, that they're not restricted, that there are empowering decisions that can be made to make informed decisions going forward. You know, the information that's out there is not enough, and there's not enough awareness about the various treatment options available to the LGBT community, which we feel is sad, especially on the transgender patients. There's often not a lot of speak about preserving their fertility, and that yeah, we want to ultimately create more awareness in saying that there's no discrimination about, you know, race, color, sex, gender, and that the options are open to everyone, but that yeah, it's just that the youth will be able to make empowered decisions at the end of the day through this awareness.
How do we deal with a couple, like say now an LGBT couple of friends of mine that I know that are planning to have a family? How do we show support and help them as friends or family as where we can?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's often the trickiest one to navigate, especially if it's a close friend or family member. We feel that when the patients undergo this treatment, it's number one, it's a roller coaster ride.
All
It's
right.
like you think you're in for one thing, and then something else happens, and then you think, okay, this is done, and then something else happens. So as the couple themselves, they are really going through a tough time, and I think the best way to support them is just to show that you are there for them. Just open your ears and listen, and just, you know, even if it's taking them supper for the one evening, or maybe on the day of the egg collection, just arranging just a nice supper for the couple themselves, or on the day that the embryos are transferred, like a nice little celebration. Or I think just small little things, showing your support and letting them know that you are there for them is just the most important part.
Right, great. So say now I've now made the decision, I want to become a parent. What must I prepare mentally, and what happens? We go through all these steps and it does not take the first time.
Okay, all right. So mentally preparation for having a child. I don't think there is enough mental preparation possible in the world to prepare you for parenthood. But in saying that, it comes so naturally that you think you need to read 5 textbooks, or you need to Google the heck out of parenting blogs and things like that. And it's just, at the end of the day, it comes naturally. And you as the parent do what you believe is best for your child. And there's so many contradictions about, you'll get your auntie saying, oh no, the child must do this and that and that. And then your grandmother will be saying, oh no, the child must have this for breakfast and that for lunch. And it's just, at the end of the day, you need to trust your gut, together with, if you're single, or together with your partner. Just trust your gut. The kid will survive. They'll reach adulthood, and you will be the best parent you could be at that time. And then the second part of the question about if it doesn't work. This is the part of the roller coaster that I was talking about. And as I mentioned previously, the cost of the treatment is exorbitant at most of the times. So when people invest so much financial resource and emotional resource and just their entire selves into the process, when it doesn't work, it is devastating. It's devastating to the patient, it's devastating to us as the clinic and the team. but also there's no preparing one for how to deal with that. It's just we suffer together with the patient. It's a loss for us as well, and we just try to offer our best support as what we can. And also that's when the community comes in to help support the patient from that end, just to let them know that they're not alone. And it's not the best outcome when that happens.
But there's nothing wrong with try and try again.
Absolutely.
Cyndi, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. We will probably next month talk to one of you guys again there at HART Fertility Clinic. This time we're going to talk more about treatment options for the LGBT individuals. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's a big pleasure. Thank you for having me, Livio.